What's going on, guys? It's not every day you go to work and you end up coming home with a trailer full of four-wheelers. This here is one of those cheap Chinese ones. I think it has like the same motor as the scooter, like a little 50cc, like a Teo I think is one of the types of scooters that the motors are in. This one over here is actually a Polaris. I wasn't expecting it to actually snow today, so I left them on a trailer last night. Came home from doing a little bit of a ditch job and clean up at somebody's house. So neither one of these things run. You can see there's a bunch of pine needles up under there. Both of them got flat tires, but really don't look too bad. I don't think they're locked up or anything. We were able to kick this one over a little bit. I think both the batteries are dead in both of them. So this one has a little bit of damage. Zip tied up right here. I mean, we could probably order this this front plastic plate offline. I'm gonna look for that. This is a 90cc Polaris. Has the Kickstarter down there. Sportsman 90. It's got these little plastic racks all around it. Fake hunting racks, I guess. And this one's an automatic, it looks like. There's a kill switch. So I'm gonna pull all this crap off of here. We're gonna throw these in the shed. It's still raining a little bit. It just finished snowing. So this is where we're going to be putting them back in here in this back area. So I'm going to have to organize this a little bit. I've got my dad's old motorcycle that he bought when he first came to downtown Richmond. I need to restore that down the road. This bike, the scooter really, it's already pretty much done being fixed up. The only thing I've got to do is put a valve for the fuel regulator to let the fuel flow properly and a couple of new lines on that thing, and that thing's ready to go. So this thing actually has this same motor that's in that four-wheeler on the back. I've got plenty of projects in here. That's a project, that's a project, that's a project, and that's my mower, but that's another story. That thing, the frame fell apart on it. That's my runner. Alright, let's get these things off here. Should be pretty easy. I can move it around with one hand. Let's drag this thing off here. Thought I had it in neutral, but it just doesn't seem to want to roll. There it is. I had to rock it around a little bit. Alright, let's snatch her off of here. Ooh. Should be able to get this thing up in here pretty good. It's that one I'm worried about. Yeah. This one's the coolster. Alright, let's get this thing up in here. A little bit of a ramp, not too bad. Sounds like we got a bad break. Maybe that's just some rust buildup. So we've got the key for this one, but not for this one. So hopefully we'll... Is that fake? Really? I'm just gonna paint over that. That's terrible. Well, anyway, I think I'm gonna look for a new bumper for this thing. Let's see if I can't drag it off here. So if you want to know the story of how I got these, I was asked to do an estimate for a leaf job, and we pulled up on the yard. Let's see if this thing is neutral. Pulled up in the yard of the lady's house, and she's asking us to do a few things here and there. Come on, Bessie. She's asking us to do a few things here and there, and we saw these four-wheelers over there, started asking her about them. And she said they bought new four-wheelers and they don't need them anymore. So if I wanted them, I could have them. Just haul them away. And I happen to have an empty trailer. So I didn't realize there was a method to the madness. You actually got to pull this thing over. There's some like spots you have to slide it over so it can actually change gears. You can't just slap on it. Well, these front tires are binding up a little bit. I think the front brakes are a little bit stiff. But there was also ice on there and everything. And just wanted to slide. I think I got it now. Yeah. She's in neutral. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to put the camera down for this one. Oh, I think I got it. Hey! Oh yeah, there she is. Alright, I'm finished pushing this thing in here.
No, we're not 40 yet.
Alright, so we've rinsed it off and we're starting to take off some parts. I just loosened up this back rack just because there's a ton nasty debris under there. Yeah, I just wanted to clean this thing out. We're gonna go through it and clean everything out of it. Alright, so day 2 with the 90 Polaris. We've got her all cleaned up. It's looking a lot better. I got this front tire aired up and we're gonna go ahead and start working on the fluids. I did check this manual crank and it does let the motor turn over just a little bit. So I'm gonna try to spray some lubricant in there, get some fresh oil, and we're gonna swap out even the transmission fluid. I think it has different fluid. So it does turn over. It's a little bit stiff, but I think that was a compression stroke. We're gonna go ahead and pull all these plastics off real quick. The seat comes off. It's not even attached. Gonna have to redo the pin system in the back of this thing. Just pull this seat off. Gonna have to put a new pin in here. At some point, somebody just ripped it right off. And we're going to take these plastics off.
I think I need to warm my hand up.
So it looks like that's actually like a fuel valve. It's got all these lines going to it. I guess this one's coming from the tank. It looks like it has a filter on there coming from this tank. We're going to drain this tank out and clean it all out anyway. So maybe we can save that thing, try to clean it out. And I'm going to replace all these fuel lines in here. There's no point in trying to save old fuel lines. They just gum up and junk up. I don't know why I didn't notice that before. I thought that was just part of taking it off. But apparently it's got reserve on and off. It's just a switch for the fuel system. And these actually both go up to the fuel tank. And this one here goes over to the carburetor. So one of these is reserve tank and one of these is the main fuel line. So I'm going to take this off. Hopefully this valve should be good. Clean it all out, reinstall it, put a new fuel filter, new fuel lines. We're going to head up to the store and grab some fuel lines to replace all of these here in a second. Oh yeah, that looks like premium. So I got that out of the reserve. I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to the main tank. So this is all the fuel I was able to get out of it. Looking at it, the way the reserve works is it just has the two fuel lines and one comes from the bottom and one comes from the back. So therefore right in here it leaves a little bit of fuel because it's sucking from up here. It leaves a little bit of fuel in a reservoir. So I guess it's just the bottom of the tank is what I just drained. So that was pretty nasty. I'm gonna go ahead and run a little bit of clean gas through there and see if I can clean it out. Hopefully I don't have to take this tank off. So put a little bit of fresh gas in there and it looks like it's coming out pretty clear. Alright, we're losing daylight, but we're on the third cycle of fresh fuel through here. Then we're gonna go ahead and take these fuel lines off. And like I said, I'm gonna replace those. I've already got all the oil and trans, I guess it's a trans oil or gear lube, whatever you call that in this thing. This is my first four-wheeler, so I'm not really familiar with it. I've had motorcycles and such in the past, but never a four-wheeler. Go ahead and slip both these plugs back in. They were both 17mm. Alright, so we're on day 2 of the rebuild. I went ahead and did the gear oil, but now I'm going to get my son to go ahead and install some motor oil. We drained it out just the other day. Now we're ready to do the new fluids. So we've got the Polaris full synthetic. I went ahead and went to the dealer and got all the fluids for this thing. So there's the gear oil and this is the engine oil. This is actually the 4-stroke model. I thought it was the 2-stroke, but they actually swapped over right in 2007. This is actually, I think, a 06 model. Still don't have the key for it yet, but coming back over here, we're gonna go back to the fuel system. Now we've already run some fresh fuel through this thing. Getting all the junk out of this tank was pretty easy. It really wasn't too bad. I picked up a new fuel filter to put on this line. This is going to the carburetor in here. And I think I'm going to take this carburetor out just for good measure to make sure that there's no junk in here. It did have some really trash fuel and I was turning the fuel valve. I didn't know what it was actually for until I realized later, but I'm pretty sure some junk fuel went down into that carburetor. I'm going to take it off, clean it out just a little bit, picked up some carburetor cleaner, and we're going to get that all cleaned out as best we can, try to save it. So I just did a last little flush to the line. I did get a little bit extra trash out of there. I had some gas sitting in there. I guess it broke free some stuff. So we're going to go ahead, courtesy of Advanced Auto Parts, Not really courtesy, more courtesy of my my wallet. Thanks for Advance for being so close to my house. For some reason I went there. Got a nice new fuel filter and some clampies, some clampets. I'm gonna put some new lines on this thing. So I was not planning on taking it quite this far, but after finding it near impossible to get the fuel lines on the bottom of the tank while it was in this framing area and the body was all right here, making it extremely difficult to access the carburetor, so I said might as well just take it all apart. Took the tank off, cleaned this overflow line here completely off, just cleaned it out. That one wasn't too bad, and replaced all these lines. This is what it was really hard to do. You can see it's really swollen on there. These ends are very big. It's almost too big to fit this rubber line on. So I got my two lines coming from the tank going down here to the valve. I cleaned all out as best I could. I might replace that down the line, but it still works for right now. And it also goes on down to a fresh fuel filter, and I've got one more clamp ready to go for the carburetor. But right now I'm going to go ahead, pull this carburetor out of here and clean it up. Alright, so I got that choke cable disconnected. Getting ready to take this, I believe this is the throttle cable right here, because this is like a reed valve, I believe it is, carburetor. Just pull this thing out. Try to keep that nice and clean. That was a Phillips for that one there, and it's a Phillips for this clamp here. And I think I might go ahead and take this intake, this little elbow 90 off here, just so I can slip this thing right on out. So I took these two bolts off of this little intake, so hopefully I can work this thing up. Alright then. Already loosened the clamp up. There she is. Alright then. You know, you separate this thing, you got to be careful, because this thing right here looks like it's not captive. It's just slides around in there. Or it might stay in there. It actually has some little ears right there, but you're gonna have to adjust those, put them back into place when you put this thing back together, obviously. But it did dump out a bunch of nasty gas. I accidentally spilled it on myself, but I'm gonna dump anything excess into my jug over there, and I'm gonna start cleaning this thing out. Oh, it's coming out of that hole. Oh, alright. Yeah, that's nice and yellow. Ugh. See what it looks like in there. Oh, yeah, we got some junk, but it's really not too bad. I don't want to sit this in there. That thing's all nasty. Oh, our float is still nice and functional. Looks nice and clean in here, actually. Just a little bit of sediment all around inside of there. I don't know if you can kind of see some of that little bit of chunkiness in there. It's really not too bad. I think this thing ought to clean up pretty easily. I'm just going to spray some stuff around it. It's a reed valve, so it feeds fuel through the top, I think it is. I don't know. I don't know much about carburetors. I just know you need to clean them out every once in a while. I usually just replace them, but I'm going to try to save this one. So I just popped my little rubber O-ring out. I don't think there's anything else rubber on here. Usually carburetors have like a diaphragm, but I don't think this one has one, because it's reed valve. I think that's what I read it is. Like I said, I don't know much about carburetors. Clean this thing all out. A little bit liberal, this stuff. It is not good for the rubber things. And I think these are the jets, so I'm going to go ahead and pull these out, clean those out a little bit as well. So I just pulled these two out. believe these are the jets. It's a little bit of buildup you can kind of see there. See a little bit of blackness. Oh, let it focus. It's really not too bad. A little bit of stuff right there. Let's look at the other one. This one's a little bit worse. Sorry, I got a car driving by. I'm gonna clean these all up. Now, I got some really bad pitting in this carburetor bowl, so it's got me kind of worried about the condition of this carburetor. But I got these things all clean, as good as they're gonna get. Let's look at this one. Got all of that old stuff. You can see where it kind of stained it right there. But it's all clean, as good as it's gonna get. And I might have to order a new carburetor if this thing doesn't function too well. It's really bad pitting, so that means that it was sending trash in here. Probably after a while it was just taking pieces of the metal right out of it and sending it into the fuel system, into the carburetor. So that's not very good, but hopefully it didn't do any damage to anything else. Scraped out as much as I could to kind of clean it up, and I really cleaned it out after I did that. Made sure I got all the metal shavings out, obviously. So I'm going to put these things back into the carburetor and start reassembly. I already put this thing back in. I took that out and cleaned it as well. And I blew out all of the little holes that you can see all through the whole thing, and made sure everything was flowing very smoothly. So my neighbors riding around their go-kart again. Even more motivation to get this thing back together quicker, because I want to be able to let my boy ride this thing around. Get in there. Something down. Yeah, buddy. Oh, man. Come on. She's a tight fit. Goodness. Alright, so I've got that all hooked up. Don't mind the motorcycle in the background. There's my choke functioning very smoothly, and you can hear the needle dropping down in there. You can't really see it because it's all closed up in there. I gotta throw my 2 bolts on here, tighten up this clamp, and we're gonna go ahead and pull this spark plug out and replace that thing as well. So we got a brand new NGK spark plug ready for this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew this one now. See what this thing looks like. Sorry to pause it. There's a lot of road noise going on. Oh my goodness. Oh man. That does not look good, my friends. Sorry I had to bust out the light. We're losing daylight. Man, she is pretty dark. Alright, let's go ahead and throw this new spark plug in here. Sorry, we're working in the light. I got the new spark plug in. I'm about to install this new super expensive filter that Polaris overcharged for me. Well, not really Polaris, more the dealer. Sorry I'm working in this light, but I just had to clean this screen out, and now I'm going to go ahead and install this new air filter and reinstall the gas tank. So that filter came pre-oiled. I didn't even realize that. And I've got this little cover thing. We're just going to slip over top of that, and it just takes 4 clips. We're going to clip that thing down. Alright, it is the final day of the Polaris 90 rebuild for my son. And we only had one more part. I had to wait for it in the mail, but it kind of worked out because we were expecting delivery of our newborn son. Maze was just born. So we got one last little part to put on this thing, and that is a key, because this thing did not come with a key. And I talked to the previous owner a couple times, and they still haven't been able to find it. So I found this on eBay for like $12. It's a complete key assembly. I hope it's a plug and play. So hopefully we'll be able to just stick this thing in there, have a new key and a whole new plug and everything. It comes with the clip in the back, and that thing's already unscrewed. So really all we need is a screwdriver and plug this thing in. Alright, Damon, go ahead and take it off. Should already be all unplugged, yep. So this here is what we're replacing. It's got the little plug in there. Looks like 4 prongs. Then we just got to wire the lights up for the, this is the neutral and the reverse light right here. There's that pin in there. We just got to bend that little tab and slide this little brass tab off, and that's just locking in the ignition switch. Alright, so we got this thing broken loose. Go ahead and pull this out, get this old one out. Alright, one last process of throwing this new battery. We ordered this also offline. This is the Absolute battery, maintenance free, should be ready to go. Take it on away, Damon. And this is a bungee strap to hold down the battery. We're just gonna put this terminals up.
That's a very tiny battery.
Yep.
Oh, there's no battery in that.
Yeah, I took it out already.
Oh. Okay. I'll put it in. I want to put it in.
Alright then.
Oh, there's screws.
Yeah, there's a screw set in there to put it all in. You gotta figure out which side it's supposed to go on. 93 octane. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and try to see if this thing works. We hooked the battery up. I do have a booster here just in case. I'm not sure if that battery comes fully charged or not. Alright, Damon, let's see if we get some lights on this thing. Alright, we got a neutral light. Can we switch it? Let's switch it into reverse. See if that cuts on. Oh, yeah, the reverse light works. Alright, it cuts off when it goes into drive. The headlights on? No, the lights aren't on. They're probably only on when it runs. Well, let's gonna give this thing a shot. Alright, we're in neutral. I've got the fuel on. I'm sure it's bone dry right now, so it's probably gonna have to pump a little bit of fuel through the system, so that's why I got the battery. Alright, Damon, so I think you might have to hit the brake, but I think it's this button right here to give it a start. And this is choke. So push that yellow button. Oh, hit the brake. Push it now. So we gave it a few tries. It looks like the sensor is right here. It might be a little bit loose. I think that's the sensor for starting it. We're not getting anything. And I think the battery is charged up. I'm going to hook the jumper to it just to check to see if that does anything. So I just hooked it up. It is reading 12 volts off of this battery. If I cut this thing on, I don't think it's gonna jump it up, but it ain't gonna make a difference. Yeah, it's still not starting. Damn it. So many kicks later, I got it running. She's running, and it sounds so good. The carburetor rebuild must have done great. Warm up a little bit. This thing hasn't run in a few years, so I still have to figure out what's going on with that push button starter. I think the push button itself is bad, but man, she's running. She's running. I'm gonna get my boy and let him know. All right, Damon, give us some gas. Faster than that. More. Yeah. What do you think?
Cool.
You ready to ride it?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna show you how to put it in the gear. Alright then. Alright, you see this? See the shifter? Right in the middle, you can go backwards and go backwards, or if you push it forwards, it'll go forwards. So you gotta
But
pull.
what if it's in the middle?
It won't go anywhere, you just hit the gas. So make sure you're not hitting the gas. You pull it over and push it in. Make sure you don't hit anybody's car. Give it a little bit of gas. Easy, it's faster than you think. Go on. Keep going. Turn around. Come on. Come on, we gotta go get your helmet on.
Okay.
He's never ridden before. First trail ever. Oh, we got a tree in the way. Good job. Real slow. It's okay. It's okay. Well, that's going to be it for this video. The four-wheeler's doing great. The only issue it has now is when you hit the brakes, the headlights go out and the tail light comes on, and the brake light does not stay running, as in the running light for the brake light doesn't stay on. So I'm going to have to figure that out. I think it's in the switches. It has something to do with the brakes. I heard those switches go bad. Well, till next time, subscribe, give me a like, comment down below if you got some information for me. Oh, my son's running over some trees. Well, till next time, deuces.